Hello, 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 hello. How is everyone doing? I am also super happy and excited to be here again on Hope Alive with Mary. It's always a pleasure. God bless you for tuning in. God bless you for joining us. Wow, wow, wow. What a wonderful week it has been. What a wonderful weekend it has been. I just came off the live chat with my lovely girls, Shanita Nolan. Oh goodness, we're talking about trauma and how it connects with mental health. Bear in mind, this November we've been dealing with mental health. So it's honestly, her story is so mind-blowing. Goodness, if you think you have experienced trauma in your life, probably you need to go on to Hope Alive with Mary page now and go and listen to Shanita's story. Honestly, this is an amazing story of her journey, of her life and experiences she's had since she was a very young girl. But look at her journey. God brought her through all that, and she has recognized that all things indeed work together for good. She's where she is today. She's doing what she's doing today because of what she's been through, and she's experienced God's mercy and faithfulness. Remember what we keep saying: there's gain in your pain. There's always gain. There's something about your pain that why God allowed it. Anyway, today I just want to speak to us quickly on the subject of how do you deal with disappointment. How do you deal with disappointments in your life? This topic has come on my spirit for a while now. I just thought that maybe I should just talk about it. Disappointments. If you are like me, you would have experienced a handful of them. And I know a lot of people out there. Some people, not so many disappointments in their life, but I know this video is for those who have experienced constant disappointments in their life, in different areas of their life. I wouldn't say I've had so many, but I have had a fair share. Okay, but I also know of people who have had constantly turning down, they've been turned down over and over and over. Hopes are raised, they are keeping their hopes strong concerning a job, either it is they are in a relationship, over and over having disappointment in broken relationship, or trusting people and people disappointing them. People, they do business with people and they are disappointed, or even in church, they go to church and they are what they expect, they love and support they expect concerning a matter or issue they are dealing with, and they are faced with disappointment because that trust is broken and it's not there. And it could be a hard place to be when all the time putting the application for job, they are disappointed, they start this business, it does not work out. How do you begin to deal with disappointment? It's interesting. When I was thinking about our topic that we looked at today about the trauma issue, and looking at trauma and how it affects mental health. So many years ago, when I started my first job after uni, there is this colleague we had in the office. I won't mention where the job is, so you don't start, trying to find who the person is. Anyway, the first job. And there's this colleague that you would know, she's clean, she dresses well, but you will just know, you will stay with her for just a minute and you will know there's something not right. I noticed that I'm like, what's going on? If she's walking on the corridor and you're coming, in the other direction, opposite direction to her, she will stop and she will lean kind of to the wall. And it's a more than enough space in the hallway for both of you to pass. But she will move to the wall and she will put her head down. Even when you say hello, she's hardly talking. And then when you walk past, and then she carries on going. Or sometimes, I don't know, she will meet you and then she turns around. She turns around with her head down, sort of, and then she takes some steps back. She has this weird way she acts. She doesn't talk much. You say hello to her, she's shy, she'll probably just say hello. Sometimes she does not respond. It's so obvious that there's something not right. And I'm just wondering, how is she keeping out her job? How does she relate to people? How does she do her job? Why is she here? What's her story? And then I found out that what had happened was she had experienced trauma in her life, which led to that. And while on the job, and the job is a very good job that they care for their employees. So somehow they just kept her on the job. I'm not sure she's really doing much because of her condition, but she still, you know, comes to work and all that. And what's the story? She was in a relationship, as I later found out she was in a relationship. This guy was going to marry her. So because she got a good job, it's a multinational company, it's a very good job, she's got this job, and then she kind of, I understand she sponsored this guy to the UK to further his education. She paid his school fees, she was responsible for his upkeep, she sent him pocket money and maintenance money and everything. So she was doing all that based on the fact that they were in love. But 1 year, I don't know how long into him being here, and I believe the relationship was a long relationship and she was all into it. But I think news began to reach her at some point that and of course the guy will begin to show lack of interest, and then news begin to filter into her that he was in another relationship. Long story short, she came in and she met a shocker. She met the guy with somebody else, and that was it. She snapped. She snapped. And from then on, she was not left. Up until the time I left there, she wasn't married. I don't know about now. I haven't asked of her for a while. I probably should, now that her thoughts came to my mind. I don't know what's happened with her. I don't know if she's still in the job. I don't know what's going on with her. I would really want to know, and I will find out actually. So, but anyway, she snapped and ended up in a psychiatric home, and she started receiving treatment, and she was off the work for a while, and then eventually she came back to work, and that was the best of her, the state she was in at that time. It was terrible, it was heartbroken. But you know what, out of naivety, you know, I'll call it, out of ignorance, a lot of people, when we had told this story, others who were there, and I also, I had to put my hand up to say, really? Oh, because of relationship, because of a man, how could you lose your mind because of a man? What's wrong with some people? Why? Such a pretty woman. Why? There are a lot of other men that would have married you. Why would that happen to you because of a man? We knew very little at the time. I personally knew very little. With what I know now, I understand that people's level of handling things is different. People's level of resilience is different. People's strengths are different. People's emotional strengths are different. Some people are stronger than the other, and some it's because of even just their biological makeup. Some, you know, I come from a family. Personally, if I look into my dad's family, there are people who can withstand all manner of things, and you wonder how someone can go through this and they are still standing. So it can be generic. I believe it can be generic or hereditary, and it could also be, you know, we don't know people's story. Sometimes, like recently, as I've begun to say, and I've been putting out there to say, if you don't take care of issues that are bugging you, and if you haven't watched my last video, I was talking about the sack of worries. Please watch the sack of worries. All the sack of worries are building up. I don't know what her stories were. I don't know her background. I don't know what she's gone through. For some people, one isolated thing becomes that tipping point. You know what they call the tipping point? It's been building up. It's been building up. You know, the scale you are putting in there, and it takes just one little thing. And people will say, oh, is this enough? No, you don't know what she's been dealing with. You don't know what he has been dealing with, whoever the person is. People process things differently. People have had trauma over in their lives. I had a guest also last weekend, Ladonia, who also, and even with Shanita and other people I have spoken with, or even have privately reached out to me, their stories are people who have had issues that have been building up. So it takes just that one thing. You know, people take their life and you say, is that enough? They passed the failed exam, and so what? Oh, so he failed the exam and he took his life, and so what? No, don't say and so what. You don't know how many disappointments they have faced in their life building up to that one moment where they couldn't take it anymore. And that's why I'm doing this. I'm really feeling a bit so emotional because of all I've heard today. And you know, in work, sometimes doing what I do, you kind of open yourself up a lot emotionally, and I need to take care of myself emotionally as well, because hearing all those really sad stories that I hear from people, or people I bring on the platform to share their story, like the one I heard today, is just still, it's a lot. And it brought back my personal memories, story also which I shared. And again, talking about this lady and a whole lot of things. Sometimes, you know, it can be really overwhelming. It can be really overwhelming. And we must have a mechanism of dealing with these things. So, in dealing, how do you deal with disappointment? You know, the difficulty in that is that, one, you don't want to set your mind, because some people have come to the place, the way the way they deal with it, their own mechanism of dealing with it is to say, oh, I don't expect anything. I don't have dreams. I don't want to have vision. I don't want to have an expectation, because it's Bible says hope deferred. I think that's in Proverbs 13:12 or 12:13. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. So they don't want to have hopes. But being hopeless is not being a place. It's not a good place to be either. So you don't want to have hope, so that the hope is not broken, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So that's their own way of dealing with it. They have trust issues. They don't want to trust anybody in relationship. They get into relationship. They don't want to trust, so they are not disappointed. They take life very easy. They don't want to take risks because they feel they can't handle disappointment. That's not a good place to be. Because that's not the best way to deal with it. Because in this life, you want to be successful, you want to make an impact, you have to take risks. If you want to expect anything, if you want to have anything, you must expect it. Expectation is one thing that God wants us to have. Okay, it is the expectations of the righteous, and the Bible says will not be cut off. If you have no expectation, and Roman could say you hit at nothing, you will hit the mark all the time, because you will hit nothing. So you need to have expectation. So how do we deal with disappointment? I think to deal with disappointment is to develop your resilient character or attribute. Toughen yourself on the inside. Have expectations. Have trust from people. Have hope. Okay, but also somewhere there, the rock. You know, remember, I keep always referring us to this passage in the Bible, Matthew 7:21 or something, that says, talking about the one who builds on the rock and the one who builds on the sand. Continue to build your inner strength of faith and trust in God alone. God is the only one that will never fail. God never fails. I don't want my video long, so I'm just going to put it there that God does not fail. Put your 100% trust and hope. Bible says don't trust in man. Man will fail you. Jeremiah 7:17. Man will fail you. Every other system will fail. Put your hope in God. Put your trust in God, because God will never fail. So when that system fails, that man failed, it is not God that failed. So I want to say, keep your hope in Christ. That's my summary of this, so that I can keep it short. I'll see you next time again on Hope Alive with Mary. Don't forget to share, and don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. God bless you as you keep your hope strong and alive. Bye.